household activities. They have like the most average of the average person that they're talking to, and they speak like a professor at a university. Their decorum and their ability to form words and string together sentences and verbalize them in such a way that is just, neutral and fluent and just and perfect. It's just beautiful. It just makes us feel so orcish by comparison in terms of standards. Like, it's unbelievable.
Are you telling us we should be raising up some level 10 gats?
What in the actual ever-loving fuck does that even mean? I understand the rizzing part, but what the fuck is a gat?
Don't look it up.
I assume it's a variant, attachment type of complementary thing that goes along with gooning. There we go. I just drank 1 liter of water as if it was a zombie perk in Call of Duty. I feel great. You better like these Nuka-Cola things. That's from the wrong game franchise, but it doesn't matter. I just named the wrong game franchise and nobody got it. Yeah, Molson, what's up, dude? You came to us today. What's happening?
Not too much, but the most interesting thing that's ever happened to me with language was I spoke French, and then I learned a second foreign language, which was Chinese, and that language completely overwrote French to the point where I just couldn't speak it anymore. And it took me like a year to like learn how to speak that second language after learning a third. It was like a part of my brain was dedicated entirely to just foreign languages.
Did you completely stop using French while you were studying Chinese?
So I was in China, so I wasn't like using French at all. And
okay, that explains it.
Yeah.
That explains it. So I've actually noticed this, right? I've actually noticed this as well. So right now I only know like 5 languages, but like I used to know 8 when I was younger. And as you stop using them over time, you actually lose the ability. So language is like something you have to constantly use or else you lose it.
I've noticed this weird thing where I can bounce between the Romance languages like pretty easily. Like French and Spanish is okay, but there's something about when you go to a language that has like a large linguistic distance, like if you're going to like Russian or Arabic or Chinese from English, or even French, it really they kind of start to mess with each other to the point where there was this guy from Honduras who was doing work at my house over the weekend. And I started like, I don't know, there's something about my brain. It just started like replying to him in Chinese. Like, I don't know, something weird happened there.
Oh yeah, that's just how like it works if you like know different languages, not just the distant ones, right? I remember someone once asked me what was cow, what the word cow was in like my first language. And I literally remembered it in every single language except like my native language. I was like, wait, what the fuck do I tell this guy?
Like the big problem when you do the big linguistic differences, languages, is that they're like what it was. So in French, it's like vache for cow, and in Spanish, it's like vaca or something like that. And like if you forget a word in a language that's like close to your own, you can like use a couple like mnemonics. Like if you're going English to Spanish, you're like, all right, let me throw an O onto car, carro or something like that. So let me get that. Maybe that's the Spanish word for car. I don't even know if it is. But you just can't do that when you're going to like Arabic or Russian and stuff like that. And so you just like end up with a lot of like holes in your vocabulary that are like super hard to fill.
I mean, language is mostly just input. So if you're inputting enough, it should be you should be able to get proficient at it eventually, provided you're not doing anything to mess up the process.
Yeah, I don't want to take over the conversation, but just like I feel like I'm beating this horse dead. But like, if the language is like a far linguistic distance, it like takes like years and years longer to learn. It's just so much harder, in my experience.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But So the U.S. government actually has like a pretty solid like timeline for how long it takes to like learn a language properly, and I think for Chinese, it's like for Chinese, Arabic, Japanese, and Korean, it's around 4,000 hours to become like fluent, not even like native level.
Yeah, and the text doesn't help, right? Like at least with Cyrillic, like I think there's like a decent like one-to-one mapping between like the letters. Like D kind of looks like that weird trapezoid like Cyrillic D, but like when you're going to like Chinese, just forget about it.
I actually, believe it or not, I actually prefer the character-based languages to the alphabet-based ones.
You mean like Chinese?
Yeah, Chinese, Japanese. I actually prefer those way over alphabets.
It's like they're cool and stuff, but they're just like impractical. So, for example, like I learned Chinese when I was in my early 20s, and so I can't handwrite any characters. I can only type it because all Chinese characters can be represented by English letters. And so, because I never had any, I never went to school, I never had to do tests or whatever. I just like learned how to write Chinese on a keyboard, and yeah, I don't know. Like the characters, they look cool, but like, man, it makes it so much harder to read stuff, and it also makes it harder to learn because, like, if you're in China or whatever, and you're like driving around, like you're not learning new words as you look at like the stores and stuff like that on their awnings because they're new characters that you don't even recognize. But if you like speak English or French or whatever, and you go to like Spain or Mexico, you're gonna pick up like tons and tons of words because all the words in Spanish are similar and they use like the same letters. And so even if they're not similar, you're like, all right, that kind of looks like a pharmacy. Oh, it says pharmacia with an F. Like, all right. So there's like a bajillion reasons why. Yeah.
I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you. I think the only reason you think that way is because you've gotten so used to English as your first language.
Well, I'm not saying that you can't learn from you're talking about the characters? You think it's easier to learn you think the characters are better than like the 26 letter alphabet?
Yes. I think the characters are way, way better.
Go on.
So basically, the characters are just memorization, right? But when you think about it, right, you've already done memorization with words, right? So when you know how to spell beautiful, for example, if you had not memorized how to spell beautiful, there's no fucking chance you would ever be able to spell beautiful, right? Because it's got such a fucking weird spelling, right? So you, just through comprehension and just through seeing the word enough and writing it enough, have managed to understand that this is how you write the word. Right? Same thing applies with Chinese characters, right? The character-based languages. So it's just about jamming these things into your head, which I find quite easy, to be honest. But I think that once you jam these into your head, right, the language, it actually makes a lot more sense. So you get to read a sentence, right, where you don't understand what a word is, right? And you look at that word, and just through the context of the sentence, and just from the characters, based on the other characters you can very accurately deduce what that word means, right? But you just don't know how to say it. That's the opposite in a language like English, where you see what the word is, right? How it sounds, right? Or maybe like based on how it's like, how the sounding is done. It might not even sound anything like how it's spelled, but in general, you get to see how it sounds, right? But you don't get anything from the meaning. With the Chinese characters, once you know them well enough, you actually get a sense of what the words mean just based off of the previous characters that you know.
Yeah. So for people who don't know how to read Chinese, what Ada is saying is right. So like there are within characters in Chinese, there are like sub characters. So like, you know how some Chinese characters are like really simple looking, and then there's some Chinese characters that like maybe if you go to Chinatown or whatever, they're like really dense blocks of like different character strokes and stuff like that. So inside those dense blocks of character strokes, there are sub characters, and the sub characters have meaning. So all the different metals, like from lead to iron to like all the old school metals, nothing like crazy like seabordium or whatever. They all have this like little thing in them that like kind of like means metal. And so there is an element of that. In that you can be like, all right, so you can look at the context of the sentence, and then you can look at the character, and you can be like, look, I don't recognize this character, but I know it's like some sort of metal because it's got like the metal sub character in it. But the thing about beautiful that is like nice, the thing about beautiful that's beautiful is like if I can remember the sound for beautiful, I at least can know how to spell it, sort of, right? And I can like kind of get close. Whereas if I'm listening to if I know the sound for beautiful in Chinese, which is piao liang, I have no effing idea like how to draw that character. And literally, I have no idea.
It's the compromises, I think, right? So with Chinese characters, you get to understand what the word means, but not how to say it. With English, you get to see how the word sounds, but not what it means. So that's the compromise between the two.
Well, with English, though, I don't know what the right word is, but like there are roots. I can't think of like you know, like if you're taking the word beautiful, right, ends in full, and so you can be like, well, you know, it's full of whatever perceived beauty. And so there is an element of like just being able to look at the characters and
yeah, but that's not always the case, right? Where it sounds anything like it, right? Like you look at some of the roots and you're like, how the fuck did they get to that? You know?
True, but it's still way better than Chinese, where there's like no relationship between there's almost never a relationship between the sound and the characters. Very rarely. And then never in like the freaking tones of Chinese are just like an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, I don't know any Chinese, but I know Japanese, which uses which almost uses the same exact characters, right? Minus some differences, right? So these are traditional characters, right? But the characters themselves have a picture, right? They have something that they are related to. It's not that the characters themselves don't have the sound. It's just that the language itself has set a sound upon them.
Yeah.
Right?
If you guys go to like a Chinese restaurant, like the one of the best characters is and it's, as Auda is saying, it's true. It's the same character in Japanese too, because Japanese like they have their own like weird squiggly characters, but they combine it with a bunch of Chinese characters.
Yeah, and, no, they have katakana and hiragana, and they combine that with kanji, which is the traditional Chinese characters. Some of them are slightly different, but it's mostly the traditional characters which you find in Taiwan.
Yeah, so I learned Chinese for business, and then on the way back from China to the USA, I like stopped in Japan, and like I went to like a restaurant. I was like, holy shit, I can kind of read some of this. It blew my mind.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point.
Yeah, exactly. And then to your other
Taiwan, and I have a good idea of what I'm doing, even though I don't know any Chinese.
Right. But to your point, some of the characters, they like look like the thing, and they look like they're the thing in like a really funny way. Like the character for chicken, it like kind of looks like a chicken, and the character for meat, which is like roll, it looks like someone who's doing an actual barbecue. And you know, the word for meat is clearly the most important word in the language. So it's cool. You can look at it when you're on like looking at a menu or stuff like that.
Some of the differences when you go to Japan are just from the fact that you learned probably simplifying Chinese, right? Not traditional.
Oh, right. Yeah, I can right. I learned simplified. I never learned traditional because there was no point.
But yeah, for me, because I'm so good at like jamming things into my head, right? I use SRS to basically memorize everything. So like I know like all the flags of every country on Earth. You know, I just jam information into my head like that.
What is SRS?
Space repetition software. So something like Anki.
How do you store the information in your brain? So for me, like I can't remember the words to the Pledge of Allegiance like at all, or even I can barely like sing Happy Birthday. That's like the limit of my like auditory verbal memory. But so I just encode everything as images.
So basically, SRS is basically this guy called Piotr Wozniak in Poland, basically discovered that one of the way to make information stick in your head, right, is to do space repetition. So just as you're about to forget an information, right, your brain is supposed to be able to recover that information so it sticks into your long-term memory, goes from your short-term to long-term memory, right? And the biggest software that does this today is Anki, right? So this is a very, very basic version of what I'm going to say, right? But it kind of gets you the idea. So imagine you have a bunch of flashcards, right? You have 50 flashcards, and you want to memorize all of these flashcards, right? So let's say you get this one correct, 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 right? All of those cards would be shown to you the next day. And then the next day, you would go and do it again, right? And then you would get all of them right again, and it would show you in 2 days after that day. So 3 days from the original one, right? And then you get them all right again, right? And then 5 days later, 5 days after the previous one, right? It would show it to you again, right? Like this, it keeps adding distance and adding distance and adding distance. And then let's say you get it wrong again, and not this time you get it wrong for the first time, right? So if you got it right, it would show it to you in 13 days, but you got it wrong. So it sends it back to the first day. It does this until the information is pretty much like solidified in your brain.
But like, what do you use to like? What are you memorizing? Because I wouldn't want to spend my time to learn the flags, right? Like I would want to spend my time to like learn like first principles in mnemonics and stuff like that. And for me, I wouldn't be surprised if a more effective way to learn that would be to like solve a problem using the mnemonic. And the other two things that I do to help me remember things is I'll like translate it from like an image to something else. So one of the like I selfishly write tweets a lot, not actually because like I want to post a banger and get a bunch of likes, but actually because I want to take information that I have in my brain that might be like encoded as an image, and then I convert it into words into a tweet, which then like helps it solidify in my brain. And then the third thing I do is I try to like figure out ways to like run emotion through concepts, because I think there's I read some study or something, maybe my psych teacher told me a long time ago that helps you remember stuff.
Yeah, so you can pretty much use SRS for anything, right? People use it to learn the piano, people use it to study math, people use it to study physics. You can really use it to learn anything. I will say for like topics like math and physics, it's probably like more advanced as to how you would use SRS, because you can't just jam everything directly into flashcards, right? But for something like learning Chinese characters, that should be really simple. Just put the Chinese character and then what they sound like, and then what it's actually representing. For something like that, it's like super simple, super easy. You can like do it pretty easily.
Do you guys know about the mind palace or the memory palace?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
The memory palace, mnemonics. I know about those, but it's especially powerful if you're using it with flashcards like Anki.
Yeah, I gotta try that, but I have to find something that like I want to memorize in that way. And I'm not sure what I would want to like. Like you said the flags. What else are like? What would you say is the number one thing that you use this for that you feel like is beneficial to you? Because it obviously like eats up your time, you know. Unless you can like
Not
figure
really,
out.
not really. So let's say, right? Let's say that. So you don't do everything in one sitting, right? So let's say I've got like I don't know, 5,000 things I want to learn, right? 5,000 things I want to learn, right? I make all of these 5,000 things into flashcards, right? Or if there's already a good pre-made one, I just download a good pre-made one, right? Or you can even pay people on Fiverr to do it for you, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, the best way to stick it in your head is to make the flashcards yourself, right? But sometimes you don't have the time for that, right? So
Yeah,
what you would do is you would find the best way. So there's multiple ways you can do the flashcards. You can do the back and front cards. You can do closed deletion cards, and then you would basically put the cards in, right? And then you can choose a number of cards that you're doing extra every day, right? So let's say you set it to 10. You're doing 10 cards a day, 10 extra cards a day, right? So that should put you in the 70 to 100 range of cards once you're every single day, right? Once you've kind of gotten into the program more, right? That should not take more than 20 minutes, right?
Right, but
And in 500 days, right, you will have gone through all of those cards, right? And all of those, then the process is just solidifying all of that information in your mind. And some of those cards have already gotten solidified in your mind.
But like, what information do you use that for? Like on some level, it like doesn't matter if I know like Togo and Benin and Guinea-Bissau and like 189 countries.
I'm saying I literally use it for learning everything.
Everything.
So yes. So if I'm reading a research paper and I want to jam things into my head, I put it into the flashcard. If I want to learn a certain part of math, I put it in the flashcard. If I want to learn certain characters in Japanese, I put it in the flashcard. Right.
But like let's say you took like the paper for Bitcoin, right? Like how would you even like for me, I wouldn't know how to store that as a series of flashcards. I don't think so.
So basically what you would do, if you have to use Anki, I think using rem nodes for this might be better, but rem nodes might be a bit more difficult to use. But let's say you want to use Anki. So what you would do is you would basically read through the flashcard, not flashcard, you would read through the Bitcoin white paper, right? And then anything you don't understand, right, you write down. Anything in the white paper you don't understand, you write down, right? Then you have a list of the things you don't understand. Then you go in and research all of those things, right? Break them down into the simplest components, make all of those into flashcards. Then you just simply have to review them, right? After reviewing them, right, they will become solidified in your mind.
Okay, I the more I thought about it, okay, that makes sense to me. I think you could do it. Like you kind of just like you need to like understand all the like parts of the process. You just like gotta break that paper into component parts. And then does the order matter at all? Like the order in the Mind Palace feels like it matters, but for Anki it doesn't matter.
Depends on what you're learning, right? So sometimes the order is important for things to learn, but if it's like let's say you're learning physics, right? Let's say I've made a deck for physics, right? Then obviously the order matters. Like some topics I can't enter unless I have like knowledge of the previous topic, right? So in that case, I can make it so its order is sequential. So I go through all the cards sequentially, right? But if it's a topic that is actually better for me to study randomly, because if I do it sequentially, it would give me too many hints on the other cards, then I would set it to do it randomly.
So I didn't get very far in physics, and like my understanding is like advanced physics does require some amount of memorization because it is non-intuitive in the sense that like we don't like our brains can't so easily understand things like quarks and like flipping or what all that weird stuff. But like we can very like a lot of like we can understand how like a ball as it rolls down a hill or something like accelerates. Like I would just visualize that, but you would how would you like do like the parabolic equation of like a cannonball being shot out of a cannon using Anki? It doesn't even make sense to me. Or maybe I'm just wrong, and you could break that down into a bunch of components.
So you would break everything down into a bunch of components, but yes, you do need to do some practice questions, right? So Anki, right, is not 100% of like your learning process, right? But it should be like a pretty big component of it, I think, right? Because you're actually solidifying the information that you've learned into your mind, right? So you want to learn something, right? You want to learn something. Let's say you want to learn, let's just say physics, right? The example you just described, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you would ideally have to solve questions like that, right? But, right, if you just do the questions, eventually you're going to forget them when you don't use them.
Right. Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
So, right, and you're going to be put in a position where you can't use those anymore, right? And because you've forgotten the process, you've forgotten the formulas, you've forgotten the definitions, you've forgotten everything, right? Because you've done spaced repetition, that shit is now solidified in your brain, and you'll be able to use those going forward, doing it continuously, right? So it's not 100%. I still recommend you would like do some examples, solving questions, right? Solving questions is a great way to learn using mnemonics and using the mind palace, anything you can get to stick in your mind. But Anki is the thing that's going to help you solidify it in your mind. That's why I said it's better if you make the flashcards yourself, because making them yourself is essentially your first review.
I just downloaded the Anki app. Is that what I don't want to do flashcards. I'm too lazy for that. But like, is the app like solid?
Which one did you download? Because there's like a bunch of fraud companies that are using the Anki name. But for example, medical school, right? I'll give you an example. Medical school specifically, right? Most students that are going through medical school use Anki, right? There's like a whole dedicated community on Reddit, right? Medical school Anki. You can go and look at them. They have like that massive decks, right? Thousands of flashcards that you can like study from for those people, right? So you can really literally learn anything using flashcards, but it shouldn't be your only, source of thing, right?
Okay. Yeah, I grabbed Anki Pro.
No, do not use Anki Pro.
Okay.
It's like a fraud company that's using the name because it's popular. I'll send you the actual website for it.
All right. Cool. Thank you.
It's if you're using it on the desktop, it's free, right? And you can make an account to sync it up to the web. But if you're using the iPhone app, it's like $30.
I mean, if you're gonna do this though, you're gonna spend so much time with it that like you gotta splurge a little on that big boy $30 app.
Yeah, it's I've spent probably thousands of hours.
Yeah, it sucks when you sell something that's not very expensive that your customers. I mean, it doesn't suck. It's like cool. It's still gratifying, but it sucks when you make like $3 on something and people will like literally spend like 6,000 hours into it. You're putting all that time into it. You're like, man, I wish I could figure out a way to have in-app purchases in Anki or like purchase-based subscription.
No, Anki is literally open source software, so the guy that made it literally open sourced it. And like the $30 that he's charging on iPad and iPhone and all of those apps is just to sustain him working on this app.
The $25 Anki mobile flashcards?
Yeah, I believe that's what.
All right, I'm doing it. I'm confident. I hope that guy's last name was Anki, because
It
otherwise
wasn't. It wasn't.
some sort of acronym.
No, Anki is a word in Japanese.
Oh, okay. He was Japanese. He
No.
was Japanese.
He just used it to. I think he just made it so it was so Japanese.
Cool. So why'd you learn Japanese? Because you're not old, so, and like Japanese. Well, it had to be like some sort of like weird like anime manga thing.
Like yeah, I guess that's part of it, right? It's just that basically I learned languages through comprehensible input. That's the method I use, right? And a big part of that is just having like a lot of enjoyable media to enjoy that's made for natives, right? Not like not media that's made for language learners, right? So you if it's like made for like the natives of the country, that's the media you should be consuming. So yeah, I wanted to learn. I want to learn Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Russian, a bunch of languages, and yeah, Japanese has like the most interesting media, I think. But their YouTube sucks.
Right?
I heard that. Well, I think I saw some statistics that like Korean, even though like no Koreans are having children, like lots and lots of non-Koreans are learning how to speak Korean because of
Yeah,
nation.
K-pop and K-dramas, yeah. K-pop and K-dramas, that's why.
Like future Koreans will just all be non-Korean.
Yeah, it's mostly the women, though, right? A lot of women are learning Korean and going there. Korea is like so imagine like an otaku, right? These fat guys that are like super into anime. Imagine like those guys, right? The like the golden place for them is like Japan. Now imagine like the female version of that, and the golden place of that is Korea.
All I know is when I went to Korea, I tried to get laid. I was like stuck there for 2 weeks and I failed. Sorry to bring it to that, but yeah, I failed. So the funny thing about Korean is they have like all these like weird words that aren't in other languages, like very specific like words for like elder brother, younger sister, and then there's this like very powerful like cultural dynamic where like if you're younger than someone else, that person then you become that person's bitch. And if you ever hang out with like an older Korean guy and you become his like dongsen, which means like younger brother, you're just like horribly fucked. That guy's like just like force feed you soju until you're passed out on the table. It's like they got a wild culture with that.
Korea is basically what happens if you like basically you make like the most intelligent people on earth work for like a few companies, a handful of companies.
Yeah.
So, like there's no startups. There's no I guess there is technically startups, but not really a startup culture. Um, so you get like the most competent people in the country, and all of them go work for Samsung. And if they're too much of a failure to work at Samsung, then they go work for LG or Hyundai or whatever, right? And all the intelligent people in the country go work for these companies, and none of them go and start their own businesses. Like, very few of them do.
Okay, you guys might like this. So it's about Korean, sort of. So we've manufactured products in a bunch of different countries: China, Taiwan, Vietnam, Indonesia, Cambodia, and a lot of our factory bosses are Korean. And even though we don't manufacture in Korea, the Koreans, they left Korea and they would form companies in Vietnam and Indonesia and Cambodia too, now that I think about it. And so, like, I don't know how this topic came up, but so this Korean guy is basically like, yeah, Vietnamese, they don't work as hard as the Chinese. Like, Chinese people just want to work all the time. They want to take no breaks. Vietnamese, they like to live a little. And then, anyhow, but just based on my experience, like, I've asked around, like, who works the hardest, and there's only one group of people who apparently work harder than the Chinese. Anyone want to take a stab at what that might be?
Koreans?
More specific.
More specific. I don't know.
You got like two options, or maybe like three options, right? Like you got like north and south, so you got to pick one.
Oh, you mean like that?
Right.
I would say the North Korean.
Yeah. So, the lore, based on what I've spoken to some people who were purchasing goods from factories that had North Korean workers in them. It's like complicated, obviously, because like if you buy something from North Korea, like hey, you're gonna get in trouble with the government, and there are massive like duties and tariffs and all that stuff. But anyhow, yeah, North Koreans. I mean, part of that is because like they get like loaned to Chinese factories, or they're like in the like Kaesong industrial complex. But yeah, those are the only people in Asia who work harder than the Chinese, who are like famous for just like cranking out like 100-hour weeks. Like that's just like their preference.
Yeah. It's yeah. As the countries get more comfortable, the less hardworking the countries become. You're gonna see that kind of around the world.
Yeah, I mean that's what people say about the younger Chinese generation. I think people say that in China, but like,
Yeah.
I don't know. You can go to like some developed countries in like Northern Europe and stuff like that, and like people, I don't know how hard they're working actually, but I don't know. There's definitely like a difference in how smart they're working. People over there work pretty smart, I would say. Famously,
There's a difference. Yeah, there's working smart, working hard, and then there's working hard and smart. Right.
Right.
I would say like before, like the Chinese used to like work hard and smart.
I think they're still doing it. I don't know. I guess like probably the Japanese younger generation doesn't work as hard as the older generation. A lot of the stories about Koreans just like being like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. This is crazy. I'm trying to think if there's an exception to that rule. Like if there's like some country that got rich and like somehow managed to.
No, it doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. Because like once you've like gotten like to face some wealth, right? Like your expectations from life are higher, right? Whereas with the people that experience poverty and war and all of these things, right? They're just grateful to not be in a place where their life is at risk.
What conditions would you need in a country in order to like maintain like a similar level of hard workingness as the country got richer? Like you'd probably need to restrict social media, which is like kind of what the Chinese are doing. So maybe that
I don't think restricting social media would work. I think it's just the emotional thing.
I think it probably has like some component, right? Like young Americans used to want to be astronauts, and now they all want to be YouTubers. And like, like if you're a YouTuber, school doesn't matter. But like if you want to be an astronaut, like if you want to be like a NASA astronaut, right? Like, you have to,
I saw this really fucking sad video. It was like a girl, and they asked her like at a young age, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And she said like an astronaut. And then she turned out into like one of the most popular OnlyFans girls. And I thought that was very, very fucking sad.
What if it's OnlyFans in space? That would be kind of cool. That's what's gonna happen to those two people who are stuck on the
I don't.
diner.
Yeah, but I don't think it's necessarily social media. It's just as a
No, the mistake is to assume that the tool itself is a fault. The real issue is the people that abuse it, right? Same thing with guns, same thing with anything. Like I don't think for something like X, for instance, is a very benign thing. You can misuse it for things that are completely wrong. And of course, there are consequences that come to bear upon you if you do. But in and of itself, it's also like saying that phones are bad for you. I don't think phones are bad for anyone. I think what's on them is bad. And it depends on, it depends on the choices of the individual as to what they choose to display via their compute and display device. Like, I actually don't believe, I actually don't believe that the harm itself comes from the tools. It just comes from the people who know how to use them better than the ones who are currently using them, which is the majority.
yeah, I agree. I just think that when humans get better lives, they become more and more like I don't want to say greedy because like you should kind of want more from life, but um, like they want more, right? But at the same time, because they have more, they're less like incentivized to work.
It is true that there are like very big diminishing returns to money. And what I think one of the reasons why Chinese people work so hard is that Chinese people like love money just for the sake of it. There's like this weird cultural trait where like even a rich Chinese person, they like really take an enormous amount of joy in like saving like 37 cents on like bok choy by like going to the place that was like kind of out of the way and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've also met like extremely successful people that are extremely frugal, but like they continue to work hard despite the fact that they made like a shit ton of money. I think it's just how you grew up, right? Um, if you grew up working hard versus if you grew up like living a comfortable life, you're less likely to work hard.
I like grew up well off, but with like my parents having like lots of debt and there being lots of stress. And so I never took on debt and then I was like very frugal. And then as I made money, I had to like unlearn those things. It like took practice. It was like kind of a weird experience where I have to be like, look, I am going to spend like $5 on DoorDash. I'm gonna pay for the return because my time, like you have to like really like reason your way into it, and then you like practice. And, like, it starts to become second nature, but you still kind of feel like icky sometimes when you do things.
I think I kind of like I kind of had I wouldn't say a similar experience, but like my family is also like quite well off. We don't have any debt or anything, but my dad is like extremely frugal, right? Like more than he should be, right? I'm like relax, like, and I've seen like time and time again, right? Him like doing something frugal that he shouldn't be, right? Trying to save money on something, and it comes back to bite him in the ass, right? Because sorry, I'm not home right now. It's a kind of loudy place, but yeah.
All right, so you guys want to hear something crazy? So my parents actually had a Bentley, and it was a lease, okay? And my parents had like no equity in their house, but my dad had a fucking Bentley, right? Which is like retarded, but he wanted to have a Bentley and like whatever. And every weekend, even though my dad had a Bentley, we would fill the Bentley up, the trunk up with the garbage from the house. We'd put it in the trunk, and then we'd get in the Bentley, and then we would drive to the office where he would work on like Saturday and Sunday because the office had a dumpster. And he's like pop, so like the car like literally kind of would smell like trash sometimes. And he'd like pop up in the back of the Bentley, throw the trash in the dumpster, and then like he'd go grind out like a Saturday and a Sunday at work, and then he'd drive home. So yeah, people can like make money and like just be insane in a bunch of different ways. You guys didn't have Bentleys with trash in the trucks?
No. But I've seen people being like overly frugal, and it's coming back to bite them in the ass because like the long term costs ended up costing them more than what buying like the better equipment would have cost them.
Yeah, at my company, one of our principles is like I had to change it from save money to like save big money, and the idea is to like you just don't want to be penny wise, pound foolish, because that ends up costing you more money in the end. I guess I'm lucky that my employees want to save money, but like I have to all the time like remind them, guys, like yeah, you're like saving $17 here, but if you look at like the big picture, you're like wasting tons of time, which is like, way more valuable money.
Yeah.
You gotta like put that in people's heads.
When I went to school, our school wanted to save some money for some reason, so they sold their printer and they replaced it with a cheaper printer, and that cheaper printer fucked up so many times that they ended up spending more on the maintenance of that machine than the original printer.
Like many such cases, right?
Yeah, I've seen so many cases of this with people being frugal. Like, don't overspend on everything. Don't just waste money on everything. Don't blow your money away. But when
don't
you're frugal,
overspend and don't underspend either. So everything
exactly.
in moderation, especially moderation, like literally. This is also like kind of a problem where if you live your life for the sake of making money, it's kind of ironic because you could be making a lot more money if you didn't adopt this particular type of philosophy to the extremes that it would, kind of restrict you from making more money. It's ironic.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. I know like a guy who is extremely successful, right? And like he stayed somewhere, right? And he was buying something, and he negotiated for like 2 hours with the guy to save like $17, right? And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, right? Like, is 2 hours of your time worth $17 to you, right? Like 2 hours of your time should be worth thousands of dollars to you. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Sitting there negotiating over $17, you know?
That's one of the things that I can't quite yet get over. Even if it's not worth it for me to negotiate, if I feel like I'm being ripped off, I just like I can't do it because like I take it personally and I just be like, nah, bro, sorry, like random dude from Honduras, like you're not charging me $300 to chop down that tree, you know, like even if sometimes it doesn't make sense to bargain, you just I don't know, man, like you can't accept that.
Yeah, sometimes the convenience of certain things is worth it. Like you have to again measure out what's worth more. Like do you now waste your time or do you save your time? Because with that time that you've now wasted, you could have done more things that could have ironically made you more money. This is like actually the thing that pisses me off the most about things that I pay for that are actually supposed to be fast, like internet, for instance. I don't get pissed off at the fact that it doesn't work properly. I get pissed off at the fact that I have to fix it for people, and that wastes my time. I am very, very particular about things that waste my time. Like, for instance, why don't I hang out at some places anymore? Why don't I hang out with certain people anymore? It's like, my dude, the conversations that we have are a fundamental waste of time. I'm the one who keeps contributing, and there's nothing that's coming back. That's kind of an issue.
Yeah, I feel you. I'm like one of those people who just like has like a constant like feeling in my gut like all weekend of just like anxiety unless I'm like constantly in some way feeling productive. I have to learn something. I have to like come up with a new theory on something. I have to get something done, and I'm like constantly over optimizing it. And I used to think that it was some sort of pathological thing, and now I'm just leaning into it and just being like, fuck it, that's just what I need to do to be happy. And so one of the good things about this conversation is like I'm learning stuff, whether it's Anki, the app, or I don't know, freaking weird stuff about Japanese.
Yeah, so I have I have kind of a similar issue. So for me, whenever I'm like doing something, right, like using my brain too much or whatever, like I'm always thinking about like how much I want to rest, right? So like I'll leave it and I'll take a rest. But as soon as I take a rest, I'm like, oh shit, I should be doing something. You know, like
You
so
get
I'm
like
constantly switching between these two.
you get like a window, I find. Like if you like produce something, or at least I find, right, for myself, if you produce something, you're like, okay, that's good work. I got something done. Like depending on how legit the quality of what you just produced is, you get like maybe 30 minutes up to an hour where you're like, I can be at peace now because I've been productive. And then it just fucking comes back and you're just like, all right, I gotta do something else. And it's never ending, man. What can you do? But maybe it's good in other ways. Like humanity needs people who are just like who can't stand watching Netflix and stuff like that.
I can't really watch movies. I can only watch it if I'm like, this is helping my language ability, you know?
Yeah, I feel that. Like it'd be like, all right, like I'll watch a documentary on some subject that I want to learn.
But yeah, for me, like, as soon as I start working, I want to take a rest, and as soon as I start taking a rest, I want to go back working. It's like a weird feeling.
Oh, that is weird.
The only reason I'd ever watch a movie is for the cultural experience of it. Like, it has to be something that's actually enriching. So if it's something that wastes my time, it just pisses me off. Like, for instance, I enjoy very much Xu Lu's work, but there was a Netflix adaptation of one of his books, which is called The Wandering Earth, that fucking pissed me off. Like, I watched that movie. It was 2 hours long, and I really felt like I wasted my time because that was just the dumbest thing ever. There was nothing of any substance in there. If you look at something like the Three Body Problem, the Netflix adaptation is not, the best, and the books are always better. Like it was kind of still okay, and it did capture the minds of very many because it was a really interesting concept, and nobody ever actually read the books after that, which actually had much cooler stuff in it. Like all the tech guys were watching the series, they were like, "Oh my god, dude, we're gonna talk about this shit." The Three Body Problem was like everywhere. Everybody was talking about it, but they never read the books because if they did, they would actually be talking about it more because it's actually really cool. So that would be the only reason why I would consume a work of fiction or media of any kind. So it's gotta be productive in some way,
Okay,
culturally or philosophically, or
there's a way that you can watch certain types of fiction that will feel productive and entertaining to you. Okay, here's an example. Watch CNN. Okay, like level one
no.
is like you're watching. No, hold on. Just stick with me here. You're watching CNN and you're like, I'm watching CNN. I'm learning the facts. Level two is like, wow, CNN is so bad. Turn it off. Level three is you watch CNN and then you're like, okay, what are they trying to brainwash me into believe? How has this been orchestrated to like abuse my psychology? And so sometimes you can kind of take something that's like really stupid and then you can kind of like watch it on like another level and be like, okay, like what is going on behind the scenes here? Why is this so bad? And sometimes that can make like a bad situation slightly better.
They're trying to make human animal hybrids.
We're going to talk about human animal hybrids. We're going to do it tomorrow, Joe. We're going to talk about it now.
What's that guy's name? I'm Joe and Mika, and I'm here to talk to you about ligers and tions.
What in the actual fuck? Okay, sure.
Just like, all right, so Trump is going to be debating Kamala, and the third party candidate is going to be a human Z.
That's wild. That's wild, man.
Will Kamala be this woke?
I mean, look, I take it to level 4, okay? I just watch on X what happens next. There's like an entire army of fucking left-leaning NPCs. It's fucking beautiful. Again, I don't have any problems in either direction of any party, except that these are the particular types of people who are so particular about their position that they just attack me for no fucking reason. I do nothing, and I get shit on in my comments. Like, I post something that's completely removed from anything that they could understand, and then I get that shit in my comments. I'm like, the fuck did I do to you? right? So you scan for those people, you use these people as a means to kind of like see what's happening, and that then allows you what the common sentiment is, or like at least the programming, how effective it is, and who it's effective to. That's how I do it. I don't actually want to watch the programming myself because the thing is, the more that you ingest eventually just becomes you, and you have no control over that. Subconsciously, you're actually always programmed, right? So you always have to take a little bit of a check. Hang on a second, give me a second.
Yeah, that is so true. Like, if you have like, you need to keep like, well, obviously, if you have hundreds of thousands of followers, this gets complicated. But like, you do need to keep like a couple of people on Twitter often call them contras. Like, you need to keep a couple of reply guys who are just like really stupid or just like say the dumbest shit. As long as they don't like enrage you, like those people are like pretty useful.
We have a resident retard that just recently said that the Matrix movie didn't have much of an impact, or the Matrix trilogy. That's legit what they said. Remember that our resident retard? They legit said that. I was like, how?
Yeah, or that BBC is a malware site.
Legit, they actually said that. They legitimately said that the BBC is a malware site. Like, somebody sent them a link to a BBC article. I don't know how that happened.
Keep in mind, she's fully supportive of the British government.
Yeah, of course. But anyways, that happened, right? We said that somebody sent them that link, and then they commented under that and said, "I wouldn't click on that. It looks like malware." I'm like, bro, it's the fucking BBC.
No, no. That's not what she said. She said, "Your website is full of malware. I am reporting you."
Yeah, that's the exact verbiage. Sorry, my bad. I didn't let that occupy me so much. So take what I say. How do I say this? There's this particular thing that you can say. So it's a thing that fucking. Oh, come on. What's the meaning of this? It's a very beautiful thing. What is it? Paraphrasing. I was just paraphrasing. I actually associate the appearance of a word more to the meaning of the word than I do the actual meaning to the word itself. It's kind of weird. I always like to think of it in terms of the feeling, right? Because everything I do is safe.
Remember when she DM'd everyone trying to get me removed from your space?
Oh my god, that was crazy. I am the admin of Adrian David Spaces. I'm like, motherfucker, no one is the admin of anything except me and myself. I'm extremely stubborn.
By the way, Molson, what can you tell us about the Amazon situation? I saw you like making a few tweets.
Well, which Amazon situation? Amazon is always a situation.
By the way,
I saw you making a bunch of posts.
By the way, my connection is fully. I'm gonna drive around. Actually, I wanted to end this space at roughly about this time, but I kind of feel like I could keep it going on for a little bit longer. Like, I think a lot of you can speak amongst yourselves. At least the conversation has been going quite well. So yeah, doing it kind of too short. Kind of feel like that would be counterintuitive. People still want their entertainment. Flies residual. Actually, hang on, let me put wiggle in position as well. Or okay, I'm gonna do this. Oh wow, I have to restart. Hang on.
My company sells on Amazon, and I got in trouble with Amazon in various ways. But I don't know, Amazon is such a huge topic. It's like one of the biggest companies in the world, and it does so many different things. So if I want to go to bed soon, but if you have a topic, I can riff on it. That's sub Amazon.
Yeah, sure. Anything goes, really. As long as it's constructive. I don't want to be talking about weird family situations and you know how people ramble about absolutely useless things. Like, what kind of meal did I have on a summer day in 1956, and how that made me feel? No, I don't want to hear about that. Those kinds of stories that really drag on for no reason whatsoever, and it's completely removed from everyone else's reality. Yeah, that's off the table.
You don't want to hear about the best steak I ever had?
The best steak I've ever had was at this beautiful place over there. They cooked it just right. They made it just somewhat rare, but somewhat not so rare. They did it well, too. They were searing it. They told me they were searing it.
I don't know. I kind of feel like I understand Trump now. The way he says shit. He like emphasizes. He says a thing, and then he emphasizes the thing that he says. He says a simplified version of the thing that, like, it's very not simplified. It's a very basic thing. He says the basic thing first, then he elaborates by emphasizing on the thing that he just says. He like introduces a few more details, but even those details are now emphasized as well, right? More than they initially would be if they were mentioned in different contexts, right? At the beginning. That's how Trump speaks.
He also like tries to make people feel good. Like even if he calls them a retard, he'd be like, "Oh yeah, you're kind of retarded, but you're great. You're great. Everyone loves you. Great."
Yeah, he does that. Yeah, he's very sociable in that sense. Yeah.
All right, guys. Amazon.
COVID was peak though. COVID Trump was insane.
Yeah, I saw
Literally, when he had COVID, he was insane. Like he was like on steroids, and he
Honestly, the worst thing, and I think there's like one thing that I really disagreed with a lot is the way he treated a lot of the reporters. Look, I mean, I riff off the reporters off myself. I think that there's some of them are really full of shit, but you know, making a weird reference in the context of this Asian reporter and COVID was just that's not good. You know, that's not okay. I feel like that was really overstepping the line.
She overstepped first. Wow.
Sure, I understand, but it's like you want to have a better standard, right? Say, for instance, if somebody attacks me a certain way, I'm not going to attack them back in that same way, because that way is probably very bad. Like, for instance, doxing someone, right? Like, imagine somebody tried to dox me, I'm probably not going to dox them. Well, like, do the same effort, right? That's just not part of a standard. You got to have like some standards. I think that was just kind of a little bit wrong. Leaves a bad image behind. Sure, was it good in a sense to kind of like hit back? Yeah, right. But not like that. You know, to do a little differently.
I don't agree with you. I think that was actually the best way to have thought about it.
Trust me.
Okay. Name me a single better way that could have gone for it. Right?
The Chinese have a good expression where
Ignorance.
How to kill a rooster to scare the chickens every now and then. But with that said, I don't think that Trump handled the media particularly well in the first go round, and maybe like a bullet whizzed by his ear and his brain. He seems to be kind of different. Maybe I'd like to think so. I don't know.
Yeah. I actually think that actually helped him quite a bit, the way he was handling the media, because everyone saw that they were actually starting to tell lies, right? And that actually added to his popularity.
No, I don't think everyone did see that. I think you had to be on alternative like social media in order to see that. If you just continued to watch CNN and read the New York Times, they're like smart people, like who think he's a maniac still because they're just never exposed to like alternative information.
That's true. I know there is some people that think he's like a complete maniac.
Yeah. There is a like his social network Truth. Like in X it's repost, and in Truth it's retruth. Just he retruthed it. It's just it looks so stupid.
It was really cool though when he posted so I don't know, apparently he had a contract, right, where he was stuck on Truth. I don't know what it is, stuck on Truth Social, or he owns it or whatever. It was like he made that one-time exception to just post his mugshot and he went back to Truth Social. Yeah. Like you could say a lot of bad things and criticize Trump, but like the dude, like he's pretty funny and he has like a very good feel for people. He's got a feel for people that might even be genius level, I think, in my humble opinion.
Well, he's a showman, so like that definitely he knows. Like he's kind of enigmatic in a way. Like I see people like whenever in his presence they're kind of like almost, I don't know, hypnotized, I guess. But yeah, he has those characteristics.
I've heard that if you interact with him face to face, like he has even like more like super charisma, and like he kind of just like really. I've heard this also about Bill Clinton, where like you just get near. This is gonna sound weird, but you like get near Clinton, and like it doesn't matter what you think about Clinton. Clinton will just charm you. Like he has this just like amazing ability.
I've heard from some people that Don Jr.'s body language is impeccable. Apparently,
Oh, I've met Don Jr. technically. This won't be a long-winded story, but I was working at Urban Outfitters in New York City, and I like went up to one of my coworkers, and because I'm like I have horrible object location memory, I was like, "Hey, where do these shirts go?" And she was like, "Get the fuck away from me! Get the fuck away from me!" I was like, "Okay." I like walked away, and like I came back like 5 to 10 minutes later, and she was like, "That was Donald Trump Jr." And but he didn't seem to have amazing. What did you say? Like body language or?
good body language. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't really struck me as that way. But that coworker definitely was not. So maybe I just don't want it. All right, guys, I'm gonna go to bed. It was nice talking to y'all. See ya.
No Amazon story, huh?
If Amazon story, maybe I can crank. Let me think for a second. For like the craziest thing I can tell you guys.
If I remember one of your tweets, it was like you said something along the lines of I can say things about I can't say certain things about Amazon, but I know like some that are working or something like that.
Well, so I got subpoenaed I think by the FTC and by California. It sounds weird that I preface that with I think, but I definitely got subpoenaed by California, and I think FTC also followed on with that. And so I got deposed by Amazon for 8 hours, and I got deposed by the government for 8 hours. And a lot of that stuff was confidential, but it just put me through a world of pain. I don't remember that particular tweet, but yeah, like I can't say everything I want to say about Amazon. But yeah, it's a wild place. I will think for a second if I got a good story for you guys.
Oh, what's the waiting period? Was it like 17 days, or what is it like for getting your money after you sold the item?
I don't remember. I think it was 2 weeks for a time, and then they do daily payments. But I think it also depends on your account. Like the Chinese sellers, in theory, have longer waiting periods to receive their money because for a whole host of reasons, they're just more likely to like engage in counterfeiting and fraud.
Right. Because I've heard like if you sell on Amazon, they pay you your money for like 17 days later or something like that, so they can like keep the money for longer.
Yeah, but like if you sell to Walmart, like they'll pay you like 90 days or 100 days later because that check doesn't even like arrive on time. So like 17 days is not that bad. But I mean, it's kind of like a different story because Walmart actually like owns the goods, whereas Amazon in this case is not owning the goods. You own the goods in their facilities.
Right. I guess that's the benefit of Shopify.
Yeah, but I mean, Amazon is like pretty sweet if you have a brand in a lot of different ways.
What's the benefit for brands? I can see like the benefit for like someone who wants to sell to like everyone, and they're making like their profit from margin, just a small margin. But what about a brand?
Like, what's the benefit to having a brand?
No, like let's say you have a brand that people want to buy from, right? They will go on Shopify to buy it anyway, right? Your Shopify store to buy it anyway, right? So if you have a strong brand, what's the other than like getting more sales? There really isn't a benefit to having it on Amazon. In fact, I see a lot of brands don't even sell on Amazon.
Well, look, like not everyone has a brand like Nike and Apple, and even people who are familiar with the Nike brand and like prefer it to like Reebok, Brooks, On Cloud, the Hoka or whatever. Like they may only prefer it like 70% to 30%, right? And a lot of people have been trained to purchase their products on Amazon, and they know where the add to cart button is. They know how the return policy works, and they know that they're going to get it overnight, next day, 2 days, or whatever. And so if you're like 70-30 leaning towards Nike, but you're like, I could try Hoka, I could try OnCloud, assuming these brands are on Amazon, I don't know if they are or not. Then like having your that you may lose that customer, right? And so that's an advantage to having your product on Amazon if you have a strong brand. But
Yeah, but on the flip side, if you have a strong brand, right, and the customer really wants it, he would get it on your site if it wasn't available on Amazon.
right, but like even like a Nike, right? A lot of customers are 70% for Nike, 30% for Hoka or OnCloud, and that's like for fucking Nike, right? So like for us, like we have like a rinky dink. No, I'm not. Our brand is great, but like you probably haven't heard of it, and so like we kind of just need to be on Amazon. And then you also have to remember that like so for our biggest brand, like the bulk of our sales are driven off of searches of our brand name. But we're also getting tons of searches for the generic name for that product as well. So in the context of Nike, like Nike will also get sales on Amazon from people searching in size 9 tennis shoe. And most people, in fact, are going to start their search on Amazon, and they're not going to start their search on Nike if they're brand agnostic. And so that would be the advantage to like having your brand on Amazon, even if you're Nike. And like 99.99999% of brands have a worse brand than Nike. So there's some benefits there, but like there are for sure some downsides too. Like we spend like, I don't know, probably close to $100,000 on advertising to people who are already searching our brand name, because they're searching our brand name. So like, let's say they're searching Nike, and if we don't pay for that advertising, Amazon will serve on desktop like 7 like Reebok results before you'll see a Nike product. And of like the top 37 results, like 19 will be advertising. And so like you have to shell out quite a bit of cash to get Amazon to serve your brand when people are searching for it. So I don't know, it's like double-edged.
That's kind of fucked up.
Yeah, it is fucked up. It's kind of like it's like almost a net loss to society too, net gain brands.
Yeah.
I'll say one last thing that I should go, but like because I want to sleep. But I don't know. No. It's just like people think that Amazon retail is a bad business, and it's like just not a bad business. Like if you look at like the microeconomics of like how that business works, it's like really great. And one of the reasons why people think it's a bad business is because Amazon is like pretty clever about how they like structure their 10K, 10Q, whatever it's called, and they like take all their loss-making activities and they lump it together into retail. And then so they'll like separate out AWS, which looks super profitable, and they just recently separated out advertising, which is like super profitable by itself. But they'll take like loss-making activities on Twitch and their like telecare service for pets, and Prime Video, which probably doesn't make money, and that all gets lumped together into retail, which then causes people to think that Amazon retail doesn't make money, and maybe they do this to like ward off, government regulation and lawsuits over monopoly and stuff like that, because Amazon retail is big. All right, don't really have a position that, but yeah. I'm going to go to bed. It was nice talking to y'all.
Nice, yeah. Thanks for joining.
Later.
What's up, Ray?
Yo, what up, guys?
Hey.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see what conversation we're jumping into next. Didn't have too much to add to the Amazon.
Did you watch Trump interview?
I didn't watch it yet. I had a really busy day, but I heard it was interesting. What were your guys' thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Liked it a lot. Very candid.
Yeah, I have to check it out. Yeah, I'm slacking today apparently. Yeah, I've seen him speak like live like 3 times, but every time I see him speak, I love the guy, but I feel like he sticks to these like talking points that like I don't know. It's and I was kind of disappointed when he was talking to Elon, and there was some good opportunities to talk on some different things like censorship in Europe. I don't know. Did he touch on that at all in this interview with Lex?
They talked a little bit about the war in Ukraine, business and politics, Kamala Harris, China. They didn't really talk too much about that other thing, but yeah,
Yep.
it was interesting. Yeah,
Yes. How many hours was it?
that wasn't that long. It was like 45 minutes of the interview with Trump, and then Lex did an AMA after, which is kind of interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. He was talking about, they were talking about like Project 2025. Trump says he has no idea what that is. He's never read it, but he hears bad things about it. He hates it, basically.
And he says he intentionally hasn't read it.
Yeah, that's what he said, yeah.
Yeah, so he says I purposely haven't read it, so I can't justify any part of it, or I can't say any part of it is good or any part of it is bad. But I've had people tell me about parts of it, so which I don't like, and parts of it which I think everyone would like.
Yeah. I think it has some more extreme positions for sure. I don't know too much about it as well. Are you guys familiar with it?
I know that everyone who hates Trump in my circle keeps yelling about Project 2025.
Yeah. I feel like it's one of those things like created to, bring negative heat on Trump, even though it has nothing to do with him, because it just seemed like that just popped up and they just ran with it right away.
And they're like, oh, this came out of like the people from his previous administration. I'm like, bro, like half the people in his previous administration fucking betrayed him. Like,
No, I hope. I think he's smarter this time around, especially after, having a bullet kiss his ear. I think he's thinking a little bit differently. Hopefully, not letting snakes into the den.
Yeah, totally.
what the fuck is this Hawk Tour girl announces new podcast Hawk Tour?
Oh my god. I don't know how I feel about that one.
I'm wondering, was there any like big events that happened during that time? Because always when there's like something they're trying to distract from, like something else like gets the internet like on fire to take away to make a distraction.
I don't know. This one might be just people being retarded at this point. I don't know what the fuck is going on.
I was watching a bit of that Tucker interview with Elon just reposted today. That's what I was kind of catching up on today. Did you guys check that one out?
I saw it, but I didn't watch any of it.
Not yet.
Yeah, a bit controversial, but on things that shouldn't be controversial. History should not be controversial.
Yeah, I saw Hawk Tour like on the like some dog rescue something. I don't know what was that about. Some dog was receiving IV, and she was like sitting beside the dog, and like apparently she'll be like she said something about the rescue or something like that. I forget. Which Windows you're running, boys?
I'm still on Windows 10. I don't know. I just never felt the need to upgrade to 11. Plus, I heard all this stuff about it. It's not good. Private using.
Yeah, they keep adding crap on it, like it just all those animations and like transitions and like
Yeah,
I always
unnecessary.
disable it. Yeah.
I can't wait until the day we can actually move on from Windows.
Yeah.
Do you guys think there will be a third, operating system that's going to pop up, or that Linux will ever become popular?
Linux.
Yeah. Can that ever get popularized? I mean,
Yes.
It's driving us toward it right now.
Yeah. Linux Mint, I would say, is actually more user friendly than Windows.
Yeah. I have it installed on like 2 of my machines right now because it's so easy
Yeah.
to just install it. Really, it's like
Yeah,
it has all the
I would
apps. Taken.
Yeah, it's more intuitive and easy than Windows even. It's just missing the application support. So I think once Linux becomes like a significant portion of the user base, once it hits like 10 or 15, maybe even 20%, then you're gonna see some developers finally decide, okay, maybe we should start taking Linux seriously. And I'm hoping until then, Proton and Wine will have advanced enough to where you can run any applications that aren't there natively on Linux anyway.
Proton not related to the email server?
Yeah, not related to that. Proton is a service by Valve, which basically allows you to run any game that doesn't use like Microsoft's like proprietary DLLs or anti-cheat that uses the kernel anti-cheat. So 60 to 70% of all video games now work well on Linux with Proton.
Yes. Nice.
Integrated into Steam, so it's pretty
Yeah,
nice and simple.
yeah.
Are you guys mostly all coders out Wiggle wise?
Not really. I'm just kind of like beginner / intermediate, but I've done a little bit, but nothing advanced really.
What do you mean by alt coder?
No, are you guys all coders? You guys are very, in tune
alt
with
coders.
all coders, yeah.
Oh, I thought you were saying alt coders. No, I like I like programming.
Nice.
Yeah, same here.
Nice. Yeah, I can tell you guys are very technologically aware of everything that's going on. So it's great.
I just think the shit that you run on your machine should be mostly free. Not free as in like financially free, but like free and open source software that you can modify however you want.
Yeah. Does Linux have the same issues like Windows? I just remember Windows being like having driver hell, where you're just trying to get things to work, and it's like, oh, you install this driver, it doesn't work.
No. Linux does not have driver issues typically. In fact, I got my mom to use Linux Mint once because all she would use the laptop for is like printing documents. So one day I just had enough of fixing the drivers or fixing the printer and whatever. I just installed Linux Mint on her computer, and to her it's exactly the same because she just uses Firefox, right, to enter into Gmail and then download some PDFs and then print the PDFs, right? And unlike Windows, where you have to go online and look for the fucking drivers and everything, On Linux Mint, you would just click on print, and it would just print the documents. No hassle, no bullshit. The drivers were already included into the kernel.
It's incredible how shitty printers tend to be, and like have issues. I even have issues with like Mac products and printers. It's like works now, doesn't work now. It's like they're so finicky. I don't understand how they haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah, Linux is good in the fact that pretty much all the drivers for all pretty much anything you need is already in the kernel library.
Nice.
Yeah, so right now it's like 5% of the market, right? I think once it hits like 10%, then we're kind of that's like the start of like the movement to Linux, I think.
Well, is there any development money behind it, or it's not like a Microsoft or anything that has any kind of backing, right? It's just kind of open source, or
Well, I guess you've got companies behind it, but not in like a traditional sense. So you've got companies like Red Hat and Microsoft and Google and you know governments around the world that are funding projects on Linux, right? Because they use Linux themselves to run their servers and their machines and whatever they need, right? So it's most of the money is going to that as opposed to creating like desktop for the people.
Yeah.
Like a serious alternative, right? I think the biggest company to do it on like a user perspective, like helping the average user, is Valve, which owns Steam, and they've launched this thing called the Steam Deck, which is extremely successful right now. Which is basically just a Linux desktop that's running Steam, right? Uh, and you can run like a significant amount of your games from Steam that just directly on your Steam Deck. And it's using Proton, right, not to emulate, but to basically run those Windows games on your Linux machine. And we're seeing now that a lot of developers are starting to actually support this, right, directly, right? They may not make the games for Steam, they may not make the games for Linux, but they'll make sure that the game at least works with Proton. It works well.
and that's something more recent of a development.
No, they've been developing Proton for a while, but only now has it started.
Nice. So this is like the catalyst that could really get people over to Linux.
Yeah, and if anything, the CrowdStrike bug that happened could actually help it even more, right? Because the CrowdStrike bug actually made Microsoft think about closing up the kernel, right? So that other companies can get access to it. Right? So they're thinking about doing this now, which they did try to do this years ago, but then the EU was like, no, you can't do that, you know. But because of the CrowdStrike bug, now they're thinking about closing it, which would mean that kernel anti-cheats might stop working. And if the kernel anti-cheats stop working, then you can run those games on Linux as well.
Nice. Yeah, I hope people wake up and get away from Microsoft eventually as well, right?
Yeah, that's my hope too. Windows is absolute dog shit. Every single fucking operating system is basically based on Unix, except for Windows. Right? Everyone was just like, you know what? Fucking people at Berkeley created this perfect operating system. Let's just base all our operating system off of this operating system. And then Microsoft was like, nah, we'll develop our own thing. Like Mac OS, Linux, Android, right? fucking iOS, iPad OS, all of Apple's ecosystem, right? They're all based on Unix, right? Then you've got the Nintendo Switch, you've got the PlayStations, you've got the Xboxes. All of them are using like fucking FreeBSD, right? All of them like based on Unix, and then like here comes fucking Microsoft, and then they're like, you know what? Oh no, sorry, I don't think the Xbox uses. Yeah, the Xbox doesn't use Unix, but yeah, here comes fucking Microsoft, and they're like, let's use our own thing. That's completely different to everyone else.
The guy who popularized computer viruses and things not working optimally. And then decided to go into different markets with that business plan.
We've got flat packs on Linux now as well, so that can help like companies start to make apps for Linux as well.
Xbox runs Windows, right? All this.
I don't know actually what the Xbox runs, but yeah, the PlayStation and the Nintendo Switch also run. They're based on FreeBSD, which is based on Unix as well. Let me check what the Xbox uses. I don't think they use Windows. They probably use like
Could be just the kernel.
my guess. That's my guess too. They're probably using the Windows NT for that. Yeah, the software has been based on a version of Microsoft Windows and incorporating DirectX features optimized for the home consoles. Here's the majority of the Xbox actually. Yeah, though initial iterations of the software for the original Xbox and Xbox 360 were based on heavily modified versions of Windows.
Yeah, like I remember Windows 7, or it was it XP, I think XP. Windows XP like had this distro, like if somebody just hacked it, like and completely stripped everything out of it, everything. It was just like a super tight, lightning fast, like it would boot in seconds. I forget, like yeah, there was like those CDs that did all the like 0 days people were publishing, and somebody just removed everything, like all the junk from it. It's just literally the kernel, and it didn't even have like games, like Notepad, nothing. It was just like bare bones Windows.
Yeah, it's it's just a heavily modified Windows pretty much at this point. So
Yeah, I don't know if it's possible to do it nowadays.
What do you guys think are some of the most important topics of our day? Deserve some illumination.
What was that?
I was saying, what do you guys think are some of the most important topics of our day that deserve some illumination? Like, what can we talk about now? What do you think is something important to where we are in the world today that we can talk about?
Yeah, yeah, I kind of like the Trump interview. It was good. Other than that, there was like SpaceX news that the top Starlink announced that it will comply with last week's order, and we had actual smart summon dropped yesterday night. Those are, I'd say, the three big ones, but Blythe probably has some more.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking about the Lex thing. He's talking about potentially doing Joe Rogan, Trump, but Trump said like Joe hasn't invited him to the podcast yet, so I'm not sure if that's gonna happen, but it could happen potentially. That's the potential.
Nice. I'm gonna start watching on the background. 2x speed and try to catch up to this
Yeah, he
conversation.
also pledged to release Epstein client list at the end of the podcast, like 44 minutes. I was talking about that. So that's
Man, it's he's really stacking the deck. He's putting a lot of people against this administration coming in, and even RFK. What RFK's been talking about is just spilling the beans on everything, talking about vaccines causing autism. I mean, he literally called out Fauci and Gates and other characters, calling them out like as criminal, like murderers. Like, I'm like, oh man, it's really going after some big powers here. So it's like there's a stirring the pot, not just stirring the pot. It's like there's just so much against Trump's administration coming in. It's like, how is he going to overcome this? Like, I feel like the chances that it's not stolen are so low. I just wonder, like, how is it? I don't know. I think the chances are less than 50% that they don't steal it somehow. Something crazy doesn't happen.
They're gonna try something. Yeah, I don't know. I have a good feeling though. I'm pretty optimistic, like overall. So I don't know. I feel like Trump's got it, but they're gonna try something.
Yeah, they're gonna try something for sure. What's been on the radar is like people have been talking about cyber attack. I've been hearing, and I'm like, what do you guys think of that? Like, people are like, they could bring down the whole grid. I forgot who was talking about it recently. Was it Bongino? No, not even an EMP. Just actual cyber attack, and it could really shut things down. Like they were talking about how this that CrowdStrike thing went down, and how it was tiny, but how that something else could go down bigger. I'm not too well engaged on the coding side of things to even know like how that can happen, but Klaus and the World Economic Forum, like he put out a video talking about it. He's like, it would make COVID look like nothing even happened. Like that's how bad it would be. It would really like shift the world. It's like, dude, it would make COVID look like nothing. Like what could this be? So it's good to.
Yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen.
yeah, for sure. I think it's great that like everything that's happening. I think it's all here to wake people up, and you got the superheroes all coming together. Looks like Rogan, Musk, RFK, all these different people from all sides of the aisle coming together. So having these conversations and waking people up, I think, is first and foremost the most important. And one thing I wish that Trump and they would learn is to really get people like activated. Like I just get ads like, hey, send us money. Hey, send us money. Send us money. Like on political sites. It's like I don't really see any messages going out there like, hey, every single person out there really needs to get active and just talking to everyone, getting everybody you know to vote. Like we really need to have activity. We need everybody activated to wake up everybody they know, talk to everybody they know. Make sure you don't just go and vote yourself. You have to go and get your whole family, to vote, get everybody you know. And it's like the most consequential election of our time, for sure. It's like, I don't know how to get that message out there. It's like they silence so many people.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Sad, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like I was saying it earlier, like
Get people's voices back. Yeah, it's nice.
yeah, yeah. Got like a 90-day suppression on my Instagram. 90 days. It's like okay.
Oh wow.
So you just silence my voice for like the entire time before the election. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not the only person. So yeah. We're looking at 1984 for sure. We're in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Orwell is definitely rolling in his grave right now. He's like, what the heck?
Rolling his grave or laughing. Like, I told you so.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So Turkey apparently will be joining BRICS.
Which country?
The bird.
Wow. That's interesting because are they in the EU or they're kind of like they're NATO? They're kind of like European aligned, but not really.
Yeah, they're like they were waiting for 30 years to be accepted, but yeah, they're not.
They're not European Union, they're NATO though.
Yeah. I mean, Germany is like heavily Turkish at this point as well.
Yeah, like it's.
But yeah,
I
that's
think
like
Erdogan is going to BRICS summit, in the next few days in Russia.
wow.
So, and they applied to join BRICS, so I think they may actually join it.
Wow. It's a big move. A very pivotal country, like right directly in the middle of Europe and the Middle East. Do you guys think Lex is going to be backing Trump?
Said he's independent in the podcast, and I don't know if he's like fully decided yet, but I think he's considering it. Yeah.
I mean, Elon is like I'm with Elon, and Elon is with Trump. So I think like it will be a significant force for many. What about you, Blaise? You pro?
Well, to be honest, I don't know. I'm just like kind of neutral on everything. I'm just trying to not take a big stance one way or another. But if I had to choose, I'd probably pick, you know, put a gun in my head. I'd probably choose.
I will go for anything that's better for the else. Anything else. I'm a simple man. I like number go up. I like population go up. I like everything go up, except for like, so anything that's good for the economy. If that goes up, I don't care what it is. I don't care what side backs it. If it's good, it's good. That's all I care about. More money, more people, more entertaining outcomes, more new technologies, and so forth and so forth. Mars sooner, better civilization there, asteroid mining. You get the rest. You get the picture. You need a stable economy. You need to fight countries to enable that.
Yeah, we need.
But what's that?
So what about my abortions? Do you not support it?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you say that again? Wait, what? Yeah, can you say that? Can you say that again? I didn't hear what you were saying. Can you guys still hear me, or is that?
Yeah, we hear you. I think I would have.
Yeah,
Mike had a.
Yeah,
what was I gonna say?
We're talking about abortion. I think you're so
yeah, something
Me-
about abortion.
My position is, if it's possible, now this is going to be very controversial. This to it, but not in the context of a innocent life form being exterminated. That's what I disapprove of. However, I kind of feel like the main issue seems to be a responsibility issue, and so what could be done, which is also why I kind of have an interest in these types of technologies, is that you can have an artificial womb and effectively have, say for instance, there are humans that are willing to take on the responsibility of having a kid in the sense that you can give them that kid, just like with adoption. But the kid itself, given that it's still inside of the womb, needs to still develop to the point that it can actually be adopted. And that is the thing where you need an artificial womb for, right? And potentially even, this is even more controversial, but I can only foresee a path going in this general direction, is that robots may even kind of take care of
Hey, can you guys hear me?
I mean, that makes more sense this way.
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
What did Adrian say his opinion was?
Basically, in the current state of things, I think it is wrong. I think it is wrong because it kills life. It's just an innocent thing. It literally has nothing to do with the context of the outside world, and it's just being destroyed. That's just wrong. Don't criticize me on that. That's the thing that it is. But what I'm saying is, I think the idea of abortion is to basically, again, alleviate the person of responsibility, and I think that's the part that one can actually still keep around, but not in the context of killing a life form that is innocent, but rather in the context of, potentially removing the fetus itself and then having an artificial womb bring it to term. That is how I was thinking of it as. That's something that I want.
Adrian, I don't think you understand. The modern world is all about removing responsibility from women.
I think that like free sex
No,
culture.
it addresses it directly because you have to remove responsibility, which is exactly what the problem is. They don't want to have a kid, but there are other people who definitely do want to have a kid, right? And so that's why I'm saying, this is exactly what needs to be done. You need to essentially remove the fetus out of that person that doesn't want it and actually has such little value placed upon that life that they would actually go as far as kill it, knowledgeably kill it. You should transfer it into something that is an artificial womb that then brings it to fucking term. It's a very simple concept.
I feel like it goes against like evolutionary kind of theory because it's, you know, we're kind of breaking that cycle where, you know, people are raising kids, good people are raising good kids, and it's like, I don't know, I feel like we should prevent these pregnancies from happening instead of just having random people getting pregnant with random people and then raising those kids. I don't think that's a good idea. I think we need to heal the culture of just like moral degeneracy that we have because, you know, just
I don't think the moral degeneracy is healable. Let's be honest here. I'm going to be very pessimistic in this, but also very realistic. There is no fucking way that that's healable. There's no way to reverse this. Like this type of brain damage is unreversible. I don't think it is reversible. At this point, you just have to cut losses and adapt with the problem. It's like saying, "Oh shit, the forest burned down, everything's over." I don't believe in that kind of sentiment. I think that's remarkably stupid. I believe in the sentiment that says, "Okay, the forest burned down. Let's replant what we can. Let's see what still exists." You know, work with the situation. It's a shitty situation. I don't think that situation will ever be saved. It's a permanent problem.
You gotta realize. I mean,
It is not fixable.
It's here from programming, and it's like, okay, the current generations that are programmed, okay, maybe, you know, you can have limited success with healing them, but the new generation, we shouldn't be poisoning them with just vile degeneracy from the moment they're born. I mean,
Who's gonna raise the new generation, athlete?
Exactly.
there's still a lot of good people.
First of all, the new generation is largely not going to exist, and then the small percentage that is able to have the new generation exist are the ones who are going to have the problem be alleviated anyways, right? They're a different group of people entirely. They are the people who are not watching the fucking skibbity toilet brain rot garbage that everyone's feeding into their kids. Those are the people who will inherit Earth. All the other guys, I'm sorry to say this, but you will go extinct because you're basically consuming a bunch of horrifying content, not understanding the consequences of what you're doing. You know, you like sit there and you consume this fucking shit. It's insane.
Not to mention, look around you. Look around you at all the conservative female influencers that are like, "Oh, these are so bad," you know, and they go out and do that shit themselves. Like, how many of these fucking conservative?
Again, like it's indicative of everyone being at fault. Like I'm not even poking at one generation in particular, or even any particular gender or sexual orientation. I'm thinking it's just a fucking huge problem in and of itself. And you're not in this together. It's exceptional. That's literally what it is. In the future, that's a fucking exceptional effort and undertaking to have. Or you have it as an accident, at which point that self-corrects into that person that comes out of this being raised terribly, that either then become a total fucking loser that then makes terrible life decisions, as I think is basically indicative of at least 50% of the current generation that exists, which is absolutely unfortunate. I think most of us can agree on this, right? You know, when's the last time you opened up like a fucking dating app or something and saw what's on the market? It's insane.
Yeah. But I agree.
It's an unfixable situation, irreparable damage.
We need to focus on the
I
culture.
think we're focusing. I think we're focusing on all the wrong things. You cannot solve a problem you cannot solve this. Wait, what the fuck was this guy doing? He's driving along the side of the road. Are you fucking kidding me?
I feel like people are exactly how they've been programmed to be, and it's like we definitely got to change the programming. Whether or not that's going to affect people, you know, is debatable. I think it's clear that people are definitely affected by the programming. Like when you see green and purple and blue hair, it's like a clear as day sign that they have completely adopted what they've been fed through Snapchat or whatever.
Chief
kind of
deprogrammer over here. Only like 5% or like the very smallest fraction of the population at all will adopt this lifestyle.
No.
The idea that this is somehow something that could just be turned around. It's a misplaced effort, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's savable, but you can. It's like put your own mask on first. You do the airplane.
but I'm
The
just
airplane
saying,
goes
like,
fucking down.
the
What do
young
they tell you?
kids-
Instructions. Put your own fucking mask on first.
Paging the connections.
Fuck telecom companies. Fuck all of them. Yeah, I know it.
By the way, look at, I just posted a video about this book chat, not book chat, in Well,
Do you guys not think that like we should really change the like media that we're consuming and that we're feeding, like the Netflix and the Sex in the City? I mean, that's very old, but just like the things that are on TV and everywhere. I mean, maybe the people that are programmed now, they're in their 20s are,
what are
they're
we going to
hardwired.
replace it with? What are we going to replace it with?
Like, just go back. I mean, I feel like a lot of this stuff is
How do we
intentional.
go back? How do we go back? No one's going to watch this shit.
Yeah, I think they would, but there's just the mainstream is this, and people just kind of go along with what the mainstream is. I think the music is like super ultra degenerate. I think the music is like one of the key factors, and that culture, like Gen Z or whatever, these kids are talking like, what are they, millennials, and they're having all this like slang. I mean, that is just like degenerate, ghetto kind of culture that's just spread to everyone and everything, and the music is just vile. I think that we need to have like public decency kind of laws that ban this stuff, where children under the age of 18 are existing. Like, you can't play it at the Gap, you can't play it in the grocery store, like, twerking, talking about sex and drugs. I think these things should not be exposed. Children should not be exposed to them. I think that is an actual viable solution.
You know what I think is actually the solution? I don't think any of that is. Right? The only solution that I can find is to fuck everything up so bad that the people that consume this shit completely destroy themselves and all that's left.
That's real positive, optimistic.
Yeah, but the issue is they're not actually arresting people from doing it. They're saying they're not stopping it, right? They're not stopping it. It's not like no social media. It's just like, here are some extra things in case you die from it. It's like you're not actually helping the issue. You're just saying like, oh, if you happen to suffer from this, there's resources for you.
Right.
Like, yeah, dude. I mean, just maybe even don't even give them that, right? Like, some places they're just like, yeah, legalize drugs. Like, I don't know, like it's Vancouver or something. I don't know what place it is. There's a bunch of places in the U.S. where they do this, but it's like, literally, let the world burn. Natural selection will work its magic.
Yeah, that's. I genuinely think that's the only solution. I genuinely can't think of anything else. Right? Like, make the fucking AI girlfriends, AI boyfriends, fucking robots, sex robots. The fucking AI that's like, let it fucking destroy the OnlyFans girls. Let it destroy the environment. The people.
We need to build this. We need to build this shit immediately. We need to make an AI girlfriend that is so much more deceptive than all the OnlyFans girls and completely put them out of business. Get them out of there.
Exactly. Put the fucking OnlyFans girls out of business. Put the fucking OnlyFans girls out of business. Anyone that pays for the AI girlfriends, AI boyfriends, whatever the fuck, they're gonna die soon.
Dude, I would pay for an AI girlfriend. Come on now.
Yeah, but you got to realize, you let this go on long enough, and you have a situation where they vote us into communism, destroy free speech, destroy the country, and then what do we got left? Like, then what? Then yeah, and off to the re-education camps for everybody that's not bought into that nonsense.
I don't know what else we can do, right? I don't.
Yeah,
know.
I mean, like, okay, what Adrian was talking about, how we, like, what we can do, like, we're already in a shitty situation, right? Like, how can we use our current resources in a clever manner that will get us as far as possible, and perhaps, like, even maybe a small chance of saving a little bit, right? How can we actually do that? And this is the way we need to think. Like, I don't know, I find like a good starting point is to just go back to basics, like inspiring, right? Before Elon Musk was around, no one was looking forward to space exploration. They're all looking at like reusable energy or building better chips or making like faster cars. Like, the world was not super advanced. And then he came along. He was like, wait, what happened to space exploration? And he kind of inspired a bunch of people. Then you had like Blue Origin come out. A bunch of other people are like excited about this. People are inspired to build other things, like work on nuclear fusion and work on compute and things like AGI just because this guy's like inspiring everyone, right? So I think a starting place is literally just to do that. You set a good example and hope that people follow.
But by the way, the art, the idea of these people, destroying themselves out of existence, that idea breaks if you introduce this concept of artificial wombs. It's like, you kind of kill natural selection. I don't think that is necessarily a solution.
I hope that doesn't happen, to be honest. We really need like a getting rid of all the useless people.
Humans are so intelligent that we create something that's going to evolve ourselves into death. Think about that. That's how intelligent we are. We're going to build something. We're not going to do it on ourselves, but we're smart enough to say, we're smart enough and conscious enough to say, we're really smart, but we're not that smart. So we're going to build some shit to do that for us, to kill us, so we don't have to do that part.
We're smart enough to fight against nature, right? But in the long term, we always lose.
I mean, we're literally allowing ourselves to destroy our own society right now. I mean, with the music and the TV thing, we're just completely unconscious of it.
The music and the TV are like the smallest part of the music right now, right? Like,
I think so. I think it's the key, and I think it's.
I don't.
It's been a couple generations of that happening, and now we're seeing the fruit of it.
I agree that it would.
Right.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think it's fair to listen to all sides. But again, I think it's problematic when you're attacking a particular community because she's a woman of color, a black woman, African descendant woman, and you're not having that same energy for Trump or these white supremacists. Like you're not going after their content creators. You're not going to his rallies. I think that's what is so troubling and so sad because you're targeting another group of people that have been marginalized and disenfranchised versus none of that smoke or energy is going on the other side. And I think until that's addressed, it's going to be an issue. And I don't know how you bring that in, but again, I do think it's going to be good to debate on another topic. I think it's going to be listening to hear. I think it's going to do well, obviously. But again, it's just a sad situation because the folks in Gaza are losing it. And if that's the time, because I'm looking at these videos like, what the crap is going on? Why are y'all coming at us like that? Like, this is crazy. Like, most of our community, I think, again, this is my opinion, has been in support. So why?
This is my psychoanalysis opinion, and take it for what you.
Oh, hey, is this a Jew hate room? Is this a Jew hate room? I love your Instagram and your TikTok, bro. You read the gospel so great. Oh my God, you can read, bro. Wow. Get a new shirt though, man. Get rid of that white T-shirt. Get a little color in your life, bro. Read any good books recently? I don't know. I think you've read more Bible than Andrew has in 4 years of running his mouth on this fucking app, saying every word under the fucking sun.
It's my brother Adrian, the world-renowned troll.
Brother, it takes a world-renowned troll to know a world-renowned troll.
What is he even talking about? Like, hello?
He's a professional troll.
Hello?
How old is he?
420 years young.
Okay. It's cute, I guess. Are you a part of the LGBTQ?
Absolutely. CRT, BLM, LGBTQ, DEI, all the way.
I don't know what the fuck you just named, but I don't even think that's a part of the LGBTQ. But are you like gay or bisexual? Like, what are you?
Well, duh, everybody's gay and bisexual, duh.
Okay, so I'm trying to have a conversation with a crackhead. I'm just gonna ask.
He does this like full time. He just trolls all day.
That's not true. I spend most of my time filming myself in a white t-shirt reading the book of John.
Oh, come on, let's not let the room die, you guys. Come on now. You got Adrian the troll, you got Zach the anti-Semite, you got good workers in here making stuff happen.
Yeah, is it true that the Jews used to get together back in the day, like 2,000 years ago, and be like, all right, everybody, we got a synagogue of Satan getting together? It's like synagogue of Satan, the original clubhouse. That's what I'm thinking. Prosecutor, defense, judge. That's what it's all about. The conversation, the debate to get to the truth.
Cleared out a couple people. Keep working, Adrian. You'll probably end up graduating.
That's cool. They're just the weak-minded ones. They can't hang. They don't like me. They don't like what I say, so they leave. Because they are the Satans in this synagogue.
Yeah, Hollow, why'd you leave yesterday, by the way? You were doing good on your atheism question. Why did you leave?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, you should have came back. You just kind of left it, didn't you? It's okay. You should deal with Adrian. Adrian's a new creature. Different kind of animal. Hollow.
What kind of creature are you talking about?
Well, I'm
New
talking
creature in Christ.
No, I wouldn't say that. But definitely a new creature. Just different kind. I mean, I guess it's for you to determine. Some people find it to be very bad, yeah. But it's up to you. Like, I guess you can
Oh,
determine.
Andrew, you're such a fascist. Just tell us the good news of the gospel in one sentence. I bet you can't.
I bet you can't.
I bet you can't do it in one sentence.
I can do it in two, maybe. But,
No, bet you can't even do it in two.
Oh, come on now, my friend.
If it's so good, it's got to be pretty simple, right? But you can't do it.
But you put your crow before swine, you know what I mean?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, quote your shitty gospel, bro. You can't even fucking tell us what the good news means.
Go, Auntie, Little Haiti, or whatever you said. You want to deal with Haiti?
Praise the Lord, Jesus loves you. Hey, Bible. The heavens, how many Lord
Thank you. Sandwiches, when the business love is sorry, love is love, period. Yeah. Zach, are you in favor of same-sex marriage?
Zach, it's time for your bedtime.
Jesus, man, do you believe in the life and resurrection of Jesus Christ? No.
No. Well, never mind. It's not the fact that I know.
Welcome, babe.
I do believe in the life. Oh, he died. I mean, he sent his heaven, but man, yeah, it's a good dude. So look.
Hey, do you believe in the life and resurrection of Jesus Christ?
Hold on. Look. It's hard for me to hear. There's a background. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, Zach. Hey, I just want to say hi. Andrew, how you doing?
Good, buddy. I'm just joining my favorite anti-Semite on Clubhouse. What are you up to, brother?
Oh, my. Okay. Well, I came in the right room. Do me a favor, Andrew. When you make your room, I want to join you, but you've been doing the replay on. Can you do the replay off? Is that possible?
Oh, yeah, I can do commercial. Yeah, we can fix it up, buddy.
Okay, thanks. Just want to know because I'll come in rooms whether or not the replays.
Okay, sure. You just don't want broadcast like a thing.
Yeah, because your rooms are too crazy, Andrew. Too many different topics. You remind me, I want to ask you about, I heard you talking about some other stuff, but I'll save it for this room.
Okay, fair enough. All good, it's all good. You had to ask Zach if he is affirmed same-sex marriage. I'm just going to jump past it there. That means that just said all love is love.
Oh, sure, Scott. I'm sorry. You asked me a question about, what was it? Christianity?
Yeah, I don't think we've ever met, so I was just curious if you believed in the life and resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Those are 3 different questions. Why is this not my faith? This is the first thing in your profile, man. I can't tell if you're real or trolling or not. I like it, Zach. Well, I'll answer you. I mean, I think you might want to talk to Andrew because Andrew's a Christian. But do I believe that Jesus existed? Not sure, maybe. Do I believe that he died? Not sure, maybe. Do I believe that he resurrected? Absolutely not.
Okay. Awesome. Welcome.
Wait, why don't you think he resurrected?
Why did he resurrect? Where's the body? I don't know. Maybe you gotta set it up. I don't know, man. Where's the body, right? That's the thing, right? Where's the receipts?
No, I mean, you don't even think there's a metaphor that, you resurrect every day. It's like Groundhog Day. You wake up at 6 a.m., drop a deuce. It's the same thing all over again. That's your resurrection.
Well, the reason Jesus didn't resurrect is because it's not physically possible for somebody after they die to come back to life.
I know, but that's why there's the metaphor, have you heard of abstract concepts and what it means to you?
No. Christians really believe, on the whole, that he really resurrected. Ask Zach, ask Andrew. They believe he really.
Oh, I know, I get that, but there's a lot of Christians that aren't literally morons, and they believe in concepts and abstract metaphors. Have you heard of those types of creatures?
Yeah, the issue with that is that if you want to have your own definition, I'm fine with that. I have no issue if you don't believe in the concept of
Excellent. Excellent.
The problem is we shouldn't ignore.
No, there's no problems here. I'm complete. Thank you very little. We'll call you. Don't call us.
It's easy to have your own interpretation, but what I'm doing is I'm talking about the vast majority of billions and millions of Christians all around the world, but they do not share your little, unusual definition. So that's fine. If you don't believe in the resurrection of Jesus, I agree with you. But I'm talking about almost 1 billion Christians who do. So, yeah. So, Zach, do you think that Jesus resurrected? Yeah. Okay. Why do you think that? Okay. So, if I read a book
I'm gonna look at Harry Potter, and I started thinking Voldemort's real because I read it in Harry Potter. Hey, do you have a woman who has the resurrection of Jesus Christ? No. Oh my God! You know what? I have a special guest here. My rabbi here is here for my Torah study. Look, your rabbi, I'm here with the new class. Zach, would you like to tell a question on the new people, Jesus Christ? I think that Musk. Oh wow! My rabbi said the spirits come up. Rather, spirits don't exist. I don't know what he's talking about. Rabbi, what happened? You're supposed to be next in kind. I'm following your religion. What's your opinion? Oh? Hello, everybody. Hello. Shabbat shalom. Not yet. What the hell? Oh, what's up? Answer my questions.
I got a question for the room. Do you think there's any Christians that just present themselves as like very vanilla Christians, but they just put on a show, to make it look like they're good people, but behind the scenes they're actually like practitioners of black magic?
Andrew, I gotta say, Andrew, this is probably the stupidest lineup you have on stage in this room. This is a lot of stupid people.
I gotta say that if you're gonna lob insults about stupid people, you might be a stupid person yourself.
Crucify him.
That's right. Be a fascist and crucify. Do what you do best, fascists.
Yeah, whose house? I don't want to think of it. A bit like what I was growing up. Right here is just gonna be. It's gonna be a clown house. Right. It's gonna be crazy. So we got a couple of stuff. Okay, bud. Do we have any Jews in the audience? You want to come up and talk to Zach about the synagogue of state? Michael, come on up, buddy. Hey, that's all. Welcome. Do you believe in the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ? Right. Okay. Welcome. Who's playing with the pussy?
What the hell is wrong with you, Jemima?
Business trick or treat?
What you eating? Better not be teacher rolls.
You want me to suck you off? Suck you off right now. What's happening?
Okay, before I eat this delicious slice of cheese pizza and drink this orange juice beer, I just want to quote a few biblical verses. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will be with you, and I will protect you wherever you go. If ye abide in me, and my words abide in you, ye shall ask what ye will, and it shall be done unto you. And whatsoever we ask, we receive of him, because we keep his commandments and do those things that are pleasing in his sight. Now the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, for he orders his angels to protect you wherever you go. If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. For ye are all the children of God by faith in Christ Jesus. There is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither bond nor free, there is neither male nor female, for ye are all one in Christ Jesus. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. If you forgive those who sin against you, your heavenly Father will forgive you. I will not leave you comfortless. I will come to you. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. For the eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are attentive to their prayer. He died for everyone, so that those who receive his new life will no longer live to please themselves. Instead, they will live to please Christ. For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life.
Amen.
Fascists.
And say, well, we can't fuck people off because we're criminals. So we'll just have our boys in the police work for us. Albanians, I think they tried to get the guys in the police. They couldn't. The Irish did as well. So yeah, no shit, right? These connections between the mob and the police were weeded out because people obviously saw this is going to lead to an abuse of power.
Yeah, but the mob also didn't want to be audited by the city of New York.
Dude, you're just adding extra stuff that doesn't even. It actually substantiates my point more. Yes, this leads to an abuse of power for a specific ethnic community. Now, for some reason, your ethnic community has maintained that ability to abuse power, and ironically, the one mob that was never really anything done about, that was actually pretty big in its heyday, was the Jewish mob. But you guys managed to get your stuff kind of legalized, for lack of a better word, by having, your Jewish fraternal police organizations where, well, no shit, you're going to use that influence in the police to fuck up other people.
What do you mean by a fraternal police organization?
You literally read out the word for us.
No, I said it was a neighborhood watch group. I didn't say fraternal police organizations. Those words never came out of my mouth.
Okay, that was part of the definition that you read.
Oh, I didn't read it.
So you can read, so go read it. Anyway, regardless, having a neighborhood watch group for a specific ethnic group with, I don't feel like repeating myself on the preconditions I said before about break up.
Okay, fine. Don't repeat yourself.
I just want to say, look at my PTR. This is what I found in Walmart.
But honey, this is what I despise the most about these guys. If I were to say this about any other group of people, people would see how it would be kind of a problem. Right?
I don't see any Christian crosses or the Islamic symbol.
There's a reason why. Because it's bad if one group of people specifically
have
disproportionate influence in law enforcement because they can abuse it to their advantage. But when it comes to these guys, suddenly, every excuse in the book is thrown out, including now that him.
Listen, I think the Jewish community is very smart. I mean, I would want to own up to how smart I was if it was mine. California, New York. The reason why a lot of Jews are in New York, by the way, is because the U.S. Took in a lot of Jews from other places and gave them citizenship, and rightfully gave them citizenship to go into New York. That's why there's a lot of Syrian Jews from there specifically. Honestly, I don't know. There's a lot of Arabs in Dearborn, Michigan. There's a lot of Somalis in Minnesota. And yet I don't see a large majority of them making or changing rules within their liking. But then when I go to New York, Jewish hospitals, Jewish places, Jewish things. And then they're like, well, there's a Christian hospital. Those Christian hospitals are for everybody, though.
So are the Jewish hospitals. No Jewish hospital in New York City says you have to be Jewish to walk in the door.
There's a section of London hospitals.
Also, not even just New York, though. There's in elderly homes, especially in like my state, in elderly homes, and I'm not even in California.
Só que a Gibson pô.
Porque era a segunda linha da Gibson, né?
Isso aqui tava bem pronta, né? Mas, pô, isso aqui tava bem pronta. Ele é um absurdo.
Por exemplo, uma guitarra que eu gostava mais da segunda linha da marca do que da principal era um violões da Eagle. Eu gostava mais dos violões da Hoffman, que era a segunda linha deles, do que dos violões da Eagle.
Segregated by religion, old age homes. I mean, there are privately run institutions as well as religiously run institutions across many different religions that cater to those religious denominations. Then there's privately run, old age homes that go to they're just completely secular. I mean, there's just such a wide variety, and this is not just a Jewish only thing. It exists, in different denominations.
Yeah.
They do have like Catholic churches, not churches, Catholic hospitals.
That's for everyone. They don't even have Catholic only people, and they don't have like special needs for Catholic people. Like, oh, we're gonna go by the laws of Catholicism. They don't have it. Catholicism.
Which Jewish hospital are you referring to?
Oh no, I'm talking about St. Mary's, St. John hospitals. Like they don't have laws towards other patients because of them being Catholic. And I've been to these hospitals. They accept everybody.
I know, and pretty much if you take Medicaid funding, you fall within the guise of CMS, the Centers for Medicaid Services, by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And pretty much, if you want to get any funding out of them, you cannot do any of the things you're talking about. So pretty much every hospital, regardless of its name, and regardless of whether it has a cross, a star, whatever it has on the roof, takes everybody. I don't know of a hospital that says, oh, sorry, you're not Jewish, you can't come in. Or, oh, sorry, you're not Catholic, you can't come in. It just doesn't exist in this day and age. Unless you're paying full boat, and some hospitals, some places, only expecting cash-paying customers, where they have the luxury of doing that, which is pretty much a possibility these days. It just doesn't happen thanks to CMS.
The issue with the hospitals is like it's the general. We have our own stuff, okay, that directly puts us in really, really big positions of power over other communities, like with the neighborhood watch, the police. And then, when people point out all this stuff is abused to benefit you, if expense of everyone else, be crying that, oh, this is all just anti-Semitic and conspiracy theory. The hospitals is even like the least bad of it. Things like that neighborhood watch that we were talking about are far more problematic. Policing is something, protecting the neighborhood, that should be for like everyone. So why is it disproportionately in the power of you and no one else?
Well, let me ask you a question. Ain't
Do you know that most of the showroom services are medical related? It's a neighborhood watch. They didn't say the word police. It's a neighborhood watch. So most of the time,
they have neighborhood
Patrola is a medical thing, but the neighborhood watch, the first person to arrive on the scene in a lot of places is in those places that have them. And by the way, we're talking about very small percentages of the neighborhoods that are Jewish have these things. Most of outside of New York City, it's pretty much unheard of. There's a few in.
I want to say this real quick. Let me just say this real quick. They have neighborhood watches in Black and Latino neighborhoods too. So we got to put that up.
I said that.
Neighborhood watches Black specific or they Latino specific? No, for the whole neighborhood. Why are these ones Jewish specific?
I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the.
I mean, is it because they've been here? Let me ask you a question though. Is it because like they've been here for like since 1920, since 19?
No, they've been here longer than that. They've been here since
longer than that.
like
Yeah. So you think so? Like, I mean, they've been here for a long time. Like New York, I had a. Yeah, so it's like, I don't know.
It's not that, because otherwise there'd be Irish neighborhood watches, German neighborhood watches, but there aren't. No, the reason they have it is because, well, I mean, why is Hollywood disproportionately dominated by them? Finance disproportionately dominated by them. Basically every industry disproportionately dominated by them. It's nepotism. When you are Nepotic,
you got the Hollywood story all wrong.
Oh my god. Oh yeah. If I look at the biggest companies in Hollywood, they're not Jewish funded.
No, they
I'm
are.
surprised you're.
They went out there. No, yes, of course they are, because they couldn't find a lot of work on the East Coast. So to escape repression, they went out to the West Coast and founded the 5 major studios. Yes, they did that, but not because they, wanted to travel across the country to do that. Read the interviews with the founders of this, and
we're familiar with Bob's story. Fortunately, my mother is a history major. That whole thing you say about you were banned from working in certain industries, it's literally just not true. What they did was they set quotas that were actually above the percentage of people that were represented. Like, say you were 1% of the population, they set a quota that 6% of the workers here would be Jewish. You guys didn't like that because you guys were ratios of like the 20% of student body being Jewish and things like that. So you went elsewhere where you could, up those numbers. So you weren't oppressed.
No, there were. I didn't say oppressed. They said they were not able to get jobs.
You don't know. Exactly. You don't know.
Yes, loser.
Please continue.
I didn't say I don't know.
Are you done?
Look, we're not going to pick fingers or try to divide people. Let's not do that.
I'm trying
to understand why specific things are happening in specific places and specific things. And everyone has their own neighborhood. Everyone has their own things and stuff like that. We're just trying to understand what's going on. There's a honestly, Yoko, I'm surprised you're not upset as everybody, because in Hollywood, do you see